Episode 8 of the Preferred Experience, the podcast. Coming at you today from the Preferred community, the Fountain City, the city of Prattville, just north of the Alabama River. A lovely place to live. Even on a hot, sweltering day like this, it's good to be from Prattville. How you doing, Stacy?
Doing great, man. How you?
I'm good, man. It's been a long, busy week, but not. For me, I'm sure it has been for you, but not as busy as it has been for our guest today, who's got a busy week, 365, 52 weeks a year.
Yeah. It's like he don't even know what a vacation is.
No, maybe 3 or 4 days sometime early July. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it. Our guest today is the 35th head coach of Prattville High School football. It is Coach J.B. Wallace, the current leader of the high school football program and a long-time line. Coach Wallace, welcome.
Hey, thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on the podcast today.
Man, I can't believe you could carve out a couple hours to be with us today because, I know what your schedule's like. It's intense.
Hey, but guess what, though? We did it, and we're making it happen, and I'm looking to have a good time. That's exactly what I did, too. Hey, we carved out some time, had to make it happen. I've been keeping up with the podcast and seeing what you guys have been doing, and I enjoy it. So I'm glad to be a part of it.
Well, we've made a list of people that we wanted to get on this podcast at some point, and your name was top of the list. It's like we gotta get him, but we gotta get him at a time where he's available. And I figured this might be the only time we could get you between now and December.
Yeah.
So we're glad to have you. I know you've been busy. People don't understand that football at this level, at 7A, Alabama high school football is 365. There aren't many weeks off at all. And the summer is no exception. You've been burning the midnight oil, burn the candle at both ends, you and all your players and coaches. Tell us a little bit about, catch us up on where we are with the program right now.
Well, right now we're towards, always I've learned as a young coach, once 4th of July get out of here, it's football season. Mm-hmm. Once you celebrate the 4th, it's time to go get ready for fall camp and all that. So we had a somewhat of a normal week this week with the exception of 2 OTAs, organized team activities, something that school's been doing for a few years now. So we had 3 different schools come up on Wednesday. 3 come up on Thursday, and we basically practice against them. Everything we do through the course of the week, we just combine it into one day versus another team. So we really and all our guys got reps this week. So we use one day for our younger guys and even some of the older guys that need more reps, and then we did one day with the older guys and some of the younger guys to boost them a little bit. So that's what we did this week, and we had 3 7-on-7 tournaments we went to this summer. We first week back we went to Troy, competed well, still getting the summer break out of us. We took 2 weeks off, and since we played that spring game on a Monday, that's kind of different than we've ever done. So we really had almost 4 weeks, well almost 3 weeks off because we were off after that Monday game, which we usually play it on Thursday. But anyway, we came in at Troy, and we competed well, but, still a little rusty first week back for summer. And then we went to Auburn, and we lost in the semis in that game, in that competition. And then we went to UAB where we lost in the championship game. But we got better every week, and our kids competed. And we took a lot of kids to 7-on-7. Mm-hmm. We also did one with the younger guys as well where we went to Chilton County and competed with them with our 9th grade and our JV bunch, and so we did well there. So very, very proud of where we are right now. This week coming up is the Alabama the All-Star week. So we have a lot of coaches meetings, and it's half days for our guys. You can't do any competing this week. So and then next week we're going to the week after we're going to do a lift-a-thon, and that's going to wrap up our summer.
The lift-a-thon is something that you brought to Prattville. Is that right?
Well, I inherited.
You inherited
it. We kind of put a different spin on it. Coach Ross did it.
Hugely successful.
Yeah. It's really just a max out day for our guys, and we try to get a lot more people in to see them max. Parents come and watch us play, and some of them come watch us practice. They never really get a chance to watch them lift. And so we allow parents to come in and kind of watch our guys max out and all that kind of stuff. And so it's a big night, and it is a fundraiser as well. So So we're going to end our summer on the 26th, I believe it is, for our lift-a-thon. And then, coaches, we have some meetings. We're going to go and plan the whole season. And then it's fall camp.
You mentioned something that just sparked my mind. That the lift-a-thon happens in the indoor, the indoor training facility. Remember when that thing was built? I think you were on staff when it was built, 2004, 2006, and so first of its kind that we know of around in the state to have something like that. And it's like when Prattville built that, it set off like an arms race, and everybody started going, well, we got to have that, and then here comes Auburn with theirs, here comes Hoover with theirs, here comes Thompson with theirs, and everybody's coming up. High school football has become a big business, an arms race. I mean, what are your thoughts about the current state of 7A football?
I mean, it's definitely 7A football. You're going to see some of the best athletes that this state has to offer. Not saying there's not any in 6A, 5A, and so forth, but 7A, when you got 22 guys on the field at one time, no less than 10, 12 at a time are going to play college football, and all 22 are capable of playing college football. So you really have a college athlete on the field across the board. And so, with that, it comes big time competition. And, just programs growing, and what it takes right now to sustain a 7A program is just unreal. You mentioned Prattville having that indoor, and then everybody else was building one at the time. I remember like you said, we were the first of its kind, and everybody tried to one-up it. And, so then it became to where we had 30 yards to work with. Now you got people with 55 yards and regulation width and all that kind of stuff,
right,
where you can actually have a practice in the indoor, if the weather, allows you to. So, it's definitely big business at this level.
Yeah, and we've seen that time and time again, how we compete against these 7A programs that have just tons of resources and like dwarfs our resources right now, but the competition level is still extremely tight with the Centrals and the Auburns and the Hoovers. I mean, a play or two away from those games going the other way in the last 3 or 4 years in a row. Could you imagine what we could do with a level threshold? Oh
man, it would be unreal to be able to do that and to be able to have the facilities to be able to enhance your program. I mean, it makes a big difference, especially when you're dressing 110 to 120 kids and being able to have the facilities to do that and to prepare and all that good stuff. You can't beat it. Which we have a lot of room in our indoor right now for workouts, and we're able to do a lot of stuff. But the sky's the limit. When you add a little bit more to it.
Well, that we've talked about on several podcasts previously, but that time's coming for us, I think. But your job as the head coach of this program doesn't stop at the high school level. I mean, you're involved with the junior high all the way down to the youth lines. Talk about what it takes to integrate all that into one big family program.
And that's a process in itself, and I think we're headed in the right direction with it. But the vision is for all of us to be the same, just a different version of ourselves. So, when you're starting with the youth league and, when they're able to speak the same language as your junior high and then your ninth grade and then the varsity, it all should link together. It's all the same stuff. And when we're speaking the same language and we have the same goal, that's when you start, developing huge programs. I remember when Prattville was winning championships, I mean, we all spoke the same language. And winning, they knew how to win at the youth league level. And then junior high, they knew how to win. And then those kids were winners, They knew how to win. And so when we got them in high school, it was just plug and play. We just took them a little further. But if they didn't know how to do anything, they knew how to compete. And, not saying that those kids aren't competing now, but I mean, when you tell a kid that he's a champion, it really does something to them. When they're 7, 8 years old. Now you're the best in that league. And so now you're a champion. You're 7th grade now. You've been a champion your whole life. There are some names that pop up on teams, and I won't go through all of them, but, we've inherited guys that is at a time in like the 10th grade, they've never lost in their life.
Yeah.
They were undefeated, maybe one loss or 2 losses. I mean, you talking about from the age of 6 to 13, they've been winners their whole life. So it matters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely matters.
Heck yeah. And, when people look at you from the outside and see you on Friday nights and know, like, well, they're practicing during the week and after school and they got games on Friday nights, the preparation that goes into what you do and to what your staff does every single year, every single week. I mean, it's hours upon hours upon hours. And why in the world would anybody want a job like that? I mean, especially when you're trying to balance family out.
Right.
I mean, you got to have a passion for it.
You got to love it. If you don't love it, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah.
And you have to love it. And we talk about the hours it takes. Man, the staff that we have, man, those guys, they've already started game planning. They started game planning in February. And so they had the initial game plan in February, and then they added to it this summer. And then, so we've already gone through the schedule and started game planning on opponents and things like that. So that's the preparation that it takes. And I think it's fair to the kids that, you get them prepared. So when you step into game week, that's not their first time seeing that call, seeing that style of play. They've done it 2 or 3 times already before the game week. So, you have to love it. And family is important, and it's always been important. And now with technology, we're able to do more from home to spend that extra family time. When I first started coaching with Coach Clark, I was the young coach on the staff, and I had the fun times of having to go all the way to Mobile to exchange a VHS game tape and make sure I have it back, and then have it uploaded into the computer system. That was my job. And one of the names you hear a lot around here, Coach Eddie Brown, he'd always volunteer me to do it too. He said, JB ain't doing nothing, Coach. He can hold down there. So now we have technology, and we can send that stuff, through the internet and all that kind of stuff, and so it gives you more time, to spend with your family, but you can still be efficient.
Absolutely. Hanging out with your coaching staff some this past week, looking around the room, and there are majority of those coaches played football right here at Prattville High School. I mean, between like your Justin Thomases, your Lawan DeBartolabens, your Quay Moncrief, Corey Lee, the list goes on, including yourself. What does it mean to have a staff that has a passion for this, not just for football, but for this program?
Well, day one, when I accepted the job, I wanted to get great men, great teachers, great coaches in here to build this program. I really didn't know I could get my hand on so many Prattville guys that had seen the success and been a part of it, and that's just a blessing to be able to do that. But those guys, they know what it looks like. And then, being able to get a few guys in the program that did not come through Prattville. I mean, we got the right guys with the right mentality and the right mindset and the right attitude to come in and lead these kids. So, but being able to get these homegrown guys, I mean, they know what it looks like. Yeah. They know what the goal is. And so I guess when they came through school, I was in the meeting that we discussed on how to get it to that point. So now they're learning some of the things on what it takes to get it to that point. But I mean, just like we talk about the kids and how important the youth league is, those coaches are winners. Mm-hmm. So they know how to win.
Most all of them have a ring or two.
Yes, sir. So they know how to win. Mm-hmm. And all the coaches on the staff, I can say that every one of them, they have a winning pedigree, and they know what it takes. And so those guys, what some people may say is, oh, that's too much. No, that's what it takes. And those guys understand that.
Absolutely. And to be Millzer, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to bring up the point as far as he's talking about the Prattville people. It doesn't just extend to Prattville High School. I tried to, I don't know what Hoover's alumni coaching, situation is, or alumni, but from my vision, or from my view of what I've seen in high school football around the state, I'm comfortable in saying that Prattville supplies more coaches, the tree, not just players, but the coaches that have coached here and everything. I'll be safe to say that coaching tree is the most extensive one in this state as far as reach and number of schools and different coaches that are coaching around. I mean, I follow everybody on Twitter. I try to, and it seems like everybody's got a job somewhere, a big job somewhere. They don't. There's no 1 or 2 years and then out of the business. These guys are lifers, and it extends from top to bottom of the state. And everybody's the same pretty much in 7A. It's 80-hour work weeks during football season and 70 hours outside of football season. If you don't have some kind of release,
some kind of passion outside the gridiron, you'll burn out quick.
Yeah.
And you've been in the business now for how many years?
This is my 18th season.
18th season coaching football.
Yes, sir.
In some capacity, and now like what, almost 10 years as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you decompress, Coach? We never get to talk about this kind of stuff because we was talking about what happened last week. We're looking forward to this week. What do you do? I mean, where do you go?
Well, I'll tell you this. My kids keep me going. Mm-hmm. So I have a older son. My oldest son, rather, he's on the football team. So a lot of our time is shared at work. But I have a daughter that is a very talented, gifted athlete as well, and a good student. All of them are. And so she's into softball, and she loves the same things I like. She likes to hunt. She likes to fish. So things like that we do together. She likes to train in boxing. So I'm her trainer. So
you're her punching bag.
Yeah. So she, stuff like that. It relaxes me just to be able to unwind and be daddy with them. And my youngest son, he's 4, be 5 here in a couple of weeks, and he's kind of everything I like, he likes too. So that's how I decompress. And of course, my wife, I guess she loves making a list of things for me to do. so I guess that can be some decompression too.
It takes a really strong woman to be part of a football family.
Yeah.
And you certainly have one.
Yeah. And I told her I almost thought I messed up when we first started dating. And this thing was getting serious. I said, listen, I got to let you know something. I'm going to, you know what I do for a living. And I'm not going to make a lot of money doing it. And it's going to be time consuming because I love this. And you sure? And she's like, yeah. I said, you sure? So that
I'm going to ask you once,
right? And that's what.
Are you holding a recorder going? Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, we literally had that conversation one time, and it's been great. She's been very supportive, and she is the ultimate coach's wife. So I'm very blessed to have her. Because she runs it during football season. I mean, she runs it.
He got broke in under Coach Bill Clark, so I think the worst case scenario he started in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So which as a coach, when you start there, I mean that's the norm for you.
Yeah.
And then you realize everybody else didn't like that. So you're looking at them, man, you're different. You're kind of weird. This is what it takes. I mean, Coach Clark, he always say we're going to study it and we're going to do it to the nth degree, and he meant it. So, but that was norm for me. That was my first job.
Wasn't it Coach Clark that would say, wives, after 4th of July, you can have your husbands back in December?
That's right. And he meant it. He meant it.
Yeah. Speaking of Coach Bill Clark, he recently had to announce his retirement due to medical issues at UAB, and you've had firsthand experience of what Bill Clark brought to Prattville High School. You were right there on the front lines when he built Prattville High School. You were mentioning earlier the indoor facility. Bill Clark made that happen. New turf in the field when nobody else had field turf. Prattville had it first. It's those kind of things. He was very innovative in what he was thinking and everything. And just kind of what were your? I mean, as you played under him and then you coached under him. What are your thoughts on Coach Bill Clark and what he's brought to the community as a whole and football as a whole in the state?
Well, that's one thing. Everything that he talked about as a head coach, he talked about his vision. He used the term we and us. It was never me and my. I mean, when he made plans, he always said it's going to take everybody. And he did that with the community. He did that with the team. And that's something that if I didn't learn anything, I mean, he taught how to bring the community together, and he did that and bring a team together. He was always on the cutting edge of everything. He was always a step ahead. Like some of the stuff, he would have discussions on the staff meeting, and I would be mind blown. Like, I think Coach needs to take a break. I think he didn't. And then lo and behold, a year later, I mean, we're ready for it. Like they may change a ruling or something. We're always a step ahead, and that's kind of how he planned and prepared, his team and his staff. He came in my senior year as he was the head coach, and my position coach. And so I got to play for him kind of twice, you know, when you play under him as a position coach. And so, you know, he just instilled those things about. He's a big detail guy, and that kind of did it for me as well. He was a stickler about everything, about how you sat in a meeting, how you carried yourself on a practice field. That's the first time I was ever taught how to carry yourself on a practice. I thought you just go out and practice. No, this is what we're going to do.
Every time.
This is what I'm expecting, you know. And probably couldn't get away today with what our water breaks look like. I mean, we take water breaks, but it's not like it is today. But,
right.
I mean, he made you tough.
Well, and you just hit on something right there. Not like it was. You probably couldn't get away with what he was doing then today. And football continues to change. The state of the sport continues to change every year, and the way you can practice, the way you have to hydrate, the way you have to what you can even wear on the practice field. What's your take on that? Do you think these are positive changes, or do you think these changes need to be made, or are we hurting the sport by doing this?
I think it goes both ways. But, you know, just to hit back on Coach Clark, that's one thing I think made him successful. He was able to change. He changed with the game. Mm-hmm. He did that, and so he wasn't, as they call, a dinosaur, and he's going to do this and this. No, he evolved with the game. But back to what you were saying, I think it goes both ways, you know. But you know, safety first, and I guess with different studies and technology, you find out different things, and so you want to definitely accommodate the student athlete in that aspect. But with that comes the difference of the type of athlete that you're building.
Right.
So as a coach, if you're not changing to adapt to the way the game has changed, those athletes can't relate to you. You're going to have a problem. You know, so they're much different than where it was when y'all came through and when I came through. Much different.
Yeah.
You know, and not always in a bad way, but they're just different. So you have to change with them.
Just to bring, you talk about change, that kind of brings up a story with Coach Clark. That was back then. There was no huddle, so as far as highlight videos for the players or anything, it was pretty much all manually hand done, and I was doing that for them, for the program and everything. And I came up with the idea of putting them on a website where recruiters could go to it. I was one of the first ones doing that.
Are you trying to say you invented Huddle?
No, I'm not saying I invented Huddle, because if I invented Huddle, I wouldn't be sitting here. But the funny thing was, though, the only way Coach Clark would let me do it, I had to give him a weekly report of the IP addresses that viewed the files and where they were at, because he wanted to make sure nobody local was looking at them.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, that's the kind of detail orientation he had, and forethought he had. He's like, so I had to say, okay, you know, Jonesboro, Arkansas, when Arkansas State was looking at Q Lee and stuff like that. So you could tell, you know, these are IP addresses from Jonesboro, Arkansas. Okay, that's fine. So, wait a minute, what's this one over here in Birmingham? I said, well, I can't. Well, block that if you can. So, Coach, I don't know if I can block that. There's no way I can block it. Man, I don't like having this stuff out here.
Well, I'll tell you, man, like the paranoia of a high school football coach at the championship level is real, I guess. Because I mean, we've seen it in not just Coach Clark, but also in Coach Dubose. We saw it in Coach Ross. Are you paranoid this way too, JB?
Some people may say that. I mean, but I like I said, I came up under Coach, so there are some things that I learned. I'll tell you the detail to it. And when we go to away games and we do our pregame routine and we do our walkthroughs before we go, you have a script of where you are supposed to stand and be during the walkthroughs. Mm-hmm. Meaning you may be coaching your guy from this area. Make sure nobody's standing around that you don't know that's watching. So we were strategically placed certain plays.
Wow.
I mean, that was everywhere. You knew your job. You know, that's what he always said. I'm not going to stand over. You know what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's just the way he was. He said you work too hard to just let somebody come in and get it like that.
And I got a couple little stories too. When I first started out doing the sideline, when Chip got me to start doing the sideline, is how I started, and all this whole craziness is how it all I got started in it. Is Chip told me this story that he said he said, what's his name? Stacy Mills. He lives in Georgia. He's working in Georgia, but he comes home on the weekends and he's going to do our sideline. What do you know about this guy? And Chip had to give him a full report on my allegiances and who I was. He just for me to do sideline reporting. So I had to pass a clearance test, and then after the year was over, that was Coach Clark's last year. But before we knew he was leaving, he had a meeting with me. He called me in and he said he wanted to put me on staff. I said, well, Coach, I never finished college. He goes, okay, here's what we're going to do. He pulls out a pad and a pen. He said, I need you to go to here. We're going to tell you, we're going to go to Faulkner. You'll take this. They got a set of classes right here. You get your degree right here. We can get you paid. But I mean, he was planning out. I mean, I'm just coming in to say, hey, Coach, what's going on? You know, how you doing today? And he's planning my whole life out for me. I mean, bullet point by bullet point.
Yeah.
And he said, we'll get you graduated. We'll get you on with staff. And I want you to handle all the video stuff, you know, and all that stuff. And then, of course, 3 weeks later, he's at South Alabama.
Yeah.
But it was just, you know, it was flattering, you know, because this man, that's, like you said, that's the detail orientation. He had my life planned out for me, and I was just doing radio.
Imagine what he's doing for everybody else.
I know.
Yeah. I already got you. After I got you mapped out. He knew that one day J.B. Wallace would be the next head coach here at Prattville High School.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if he knew it. Maybe he did. He's the one started me into coaching, so he gave me the idea. So,
And when did you know you wanted to be a coach?
When he mentioned it to me, it was a couple things that I saw. I always took a liking to Coach Harper, and so I saw that he was a coach, and so I said, okay, that'd be pretty cool. And then Coach Clark said one day, he said, you ever thought about coaching? And I said, not really. I think you make a good coach, and I'd hire you. And that's the way it went. And so I was like, really? So I told Mom, I said, I think I want to be a coach and a teacher. And then she said, okay, well, if that's what you want to do, then do it. She said, you can be the head coach at Prattville. I said, I don't know about that, but, you know, I think that's what I want to do. And so that's kind of how it went. And so I never thought about it until he mentioned it.
Well, he had a good idea.
Well, so when I was in college, I would come back in the summers, and he'd already have me with the junior high helping out, and he'd give me a list of things. He said, look, teach them this, this, and this. Remember how we do that? And some stuff that he'd say, remember how we did? And I'm like, Coach, I think you might have done that at Dothan in '99 before you met me. You know, stuff, because he would take you there. He'd take you way on back, you know. But anyway, he'd say, hey, teach them this, this, and this. So I would spend some of the summers at the junior high working with those guys while I was playing college ball, and then so it just kind of worked out when I got done.
Most people, when they're passionate about something, they can go back and pinpoint like this particular experience. Or this particular experience solidified that I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And this one almost got me out of the sport, almost got me out of it. What are some of those key moments that you can think of along your journey that's like brought you here? It's like, that was a milestone moment for me.
I think being the blessing and the curse of my experience is being Prattville being my first job. And I stepped into a situation in which it was in the process of being built to being something great. And that's all I've ever been around. And so you have some of the guys at the time when I first got started that were a little older than me, and they've seen other stuff. So they kind of could see stuff coming. Well, with me, you know, it's working. So why change? So when you go to other schools, and so I remember going to Florence as the defensive coordinator 2012, and coming from here, it's totally different because I've been around this, and it's not like that everywhere you go.
Yeah.
You know, this is a different animal, the way we were taught here. Even, you know, coaching with Coach Dubose, you know, I mean, it's a certain thing that you do here that is different everywhere you go. So what that taught me was that taught me that you had to be versatile, and you had to take people for where they are to elevate them. You can't just expect them to be the same minded person you are, or have the same, you know, you have to take them for where they are and bring them up. So I think being able to do that in Florence, I think that was a huge milestone for me, because I had to learn that. If I've never learned that, I mean, I could have been stubborn the rest of my days, and you get the results of being stubborn.
And when most of my conversations with former players and coaches here that are in the coaching profession, every one of them to a man says exactly what J.B. Wallace just said. No matter where you go, no matter what tradition they may have had before, they he has to. The coach that's there has to bring them up to the work level that is expected of that has been set. The bar has been set at Prattville High School. The work level here was set so much higher than everybody else. And I try to tell that everybody, when Prattville was making their run, they were beating, they beat Hoover for the first time up there for the championship, and everybody was talking about all the great players, you had all the great studs and everything. I said, yeah, there was some real good players on there, but I can count on one hand how many played major college ball.
Yeah.
I said,
not many.
Y'all don't want to believe it. Prattville just outworked everybody.
Right. Yeah.
Because we didn't have the resources and didn't have the horses that they had. We just outworked them.
Yeah, I agree to that. What people didn't see, and now that I look back on and I was able to witness it every day, that you saw the lights on Friday and you saw the great players on Friday. But I'm gonna tell you something. Those guys, I don't recall some of these players that you guys may have seen play that were great players. I don't recall maybe any of them not being workers as far as preparation in the weight room and practice. I mean, those guys, they work different. And so that as a coach, especially a young coach, I mean, that's all I knew. So you expect everybody else to be like that.
Follow suit.
And
don't do that.
No.
And
No.
they set the example for everybody. All the other players on the team is like, hey, look, if you're not doing this, you're not. Just go on. We don't need you.
Yeah. I don't think I've experienced a moment to where I wanted to get out of the game or anything like that. I think there are just some things that I had to learn, just being different places. I love Prattville. I think to prepare me to be able to where I am now, I had to leave to see other things, to be able to come back. And now I see things differently.
Yeah.
And just, even going to Marbury and had a great time at Marbury. What I learned in Florence helped me at Marbury. What I learned at Prattville helped me at Marbury. So it just all, God just took care of me and gave me the vision.
And when you're over a program at the high school level with 110 dressing out, that's a challenge in itself just to dress out 110 players, because it's hundreds of dollars to dress out one football player just for game, not for practice. But beyond that, you got 110 players. They all come from different backgrounds. They all come from different financial situations. They all come from different home life situations. And in some situations, a high school football coach has got to be daddy too.
Yeah,
you experience that
all the time. And I there are some things that we can take up the whole show on that alone. But yes, you have to see all that. And as a coach, I'll just say this is similar to being a player. Some players just got it, and you can't explain it. And it's the same with coaches. Yeah. Some coaches just got it, and you understand. And I know some of and so you learn stuff. You talk from certain guys, and you learn from them, but they teach you certain things. I remember it was something we were talking about. And I said, this is how we're going to deal with this. And it's because I was taught that way. And, of course, we had to revamp it with the time. But I said, we're going to deal with this like this a certain way. And then a coach said, hey, I'm taking a class, a master's class, and how we handle this and what you said about this, that's in that book. Did you read that book? And I said, no, I ain't never read that book. I ain't never read it, but that's just the way you were taught to do it. And when you're around the right people, you learn stuff like that.
Can I say the two names?
Go ahead.
Coach Low Pickett, Coach Eddie Brown.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And so, yeah, being a young coach under Low Pickett, you learn a lot from him. Of course, he taught me a lot of hard lessons, too. I wouldn't take nothing for the world. I put it like this. I appreciate what I do now because of him. Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing the impact that one man can have on a community.
Oh, yeah.
Not a head coach, an assistant coach. Low Pickett. I mean, what a blow that was to lose that man for this community, not for this community, but the whole region. I mean, what an impact! But because his teachings, his attitude toward the game, his love for kids, it just reverberates in everybody that seems to have known him. And you're an example of that, I think. We hit on having to be daddy to some of these kids that maybe have a single parent household and just need some push, and you provide that. But also, you said earlier, like, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. You also are technically a biological dad to one of those players out there, old Scooter. Your son is out there. How difficult is that to coach your own son?
It's actually fun. I've never, and I purposely did it for my own being, but I've never had an opportunity to coach him on a team until now. I didn't coach him growing up because I wanted to be daddy. I didn't want to be coach. I wanted to be daddy, and I let everybody else coach him. And I try to lead by example. So, growing up when we play baseball, basketball, football, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to be a fan and I'm going to support the coach for whatever he wants. And it don't matter if I agree or disagree. He's the one coaching him. And so I lead by example for that. So now that he's on the team, I coach him up a little bit on technique here and there. But, I trust my staff to really coach him up. Probably when we first came, nobody probably really put together that was my son. If you really didn't know us, because it's a different relationship on the field. We have the same relationship on the field as I have with all the other boys. And he calls me coach. He don't call me dad. He calls me coach on the field. And so, but I trust my staff to coach him. And they coach him hard, and they don't cut him slack. He probably get it worse from them. They give it to him, but he handles it well. But it's been a great experience so far.
That's awesome, and he's a rising junior. Is that right?
Rising junior,
and he's come along. I've seen him since he's got here. He's bulked up, gotten stronger, gotten faster. That's got to be exciting to watch.
It is. He's a worker, and that's one thing that I told him. I said I don't care about accolades, but I do care about you being coachable. I care about you finishing what you start, and I care about your work ethic and all the other stuff. If you do all those things, then do it in the classroom too. And so he's done that, and so he's done everything that we've asked to do.
You mentioned how important it was to lead by example as a parent, as daddy. When the other coaches were coaching him growing up, you didn't coach him because you wanted to be dad and support the coach that was coaching him. A lot of parents don't take that approach.
No, they don't. And I'm gonna tell you, just being in those shoes, and sometimes I had to catch myself because I see stuff, and I know, and these men they give up their time to coach other people's kids because it needs to be done. And so as a coach, that's coaching high school ball or something. You deal with it all the time, and you see stuff, and I almost just out of just a habit, but I sit back and I let them coach. Now, when we get home, I'm not going to tell him anything the coach didn't tell him. But if he asked me a question on how to do this, I said, what does your coach say? Well, he hadn't really said. I said, well, then do it like this. But I said, well, if he says, coach say do it like this, and I said, then we're going to work it the way coach said work.
That's right.
And he'll attest to that. That's baseball when he played baseball. If coach said he going to change his stance and he's going to do it like this, and that's what we're going to work on. He studies this stuff. I don't. So we're going to do what he wants done. Basketball, and he's not a natural at basketball, but hey, whatever coach say do, that's what we're going to work. And so I've been that parent. There's no probably none of my son's former coaches would say that Coach Wallace came in there and a lot of times I was asked, Coach, what do you think? Do you want to come in? I said, no, sir. I want to come in and support you. This your baby.
Yeah, and you take
your baby.
And you see this in a lot of and just about all the football coaches that have come through Prattville. What you're saying there, I've pretty much heard the same story out of all of them. That and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that you have to deal with the other end of that,
right?
So much that you're like, I'm not going to be that guy.
Yeah, right. I just enjoy. Like if you see me go to a game or something like my daughter's game, man, I kind of go and I'll sit at the softball field, maybe in left field, and I have my lawn chair and I'm watching it because I just enjoy being daddy. Because I really, my opportunities to do that, they're not as I don't get as many opportunities.
They're limited
to do that.
For sure.
I'm very limited.
Yeah.
So I like to take every chance I can to be daddy, especially watching my daughter play softball or basketball. Hey, I'm daddy. And I enjoy every bit of my little son playing flag football last year. Lord knows, I hope we have a better year than we did. Because my Scooter was happy to tell everybody at the flag football games, yeah, that's his daddy. That's his daddy. Yeah, because he didn't quite catch on.
And that's another thing that's come up in the last few years is flag football for for K through third grade or even fourth, fifth, sixth grade. I mean, it used to be you'd strap on a football helmet in kindergarten. Mm-hmm. Those days are those days are going away.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's great, honestly. I think with the contact part of it, with the right teaching, some kids are ready at a certain age. Like, we'll take 5. I always thought 5 was a little bit early to start tackle. But you know, people were doing it. And if you're teaching it correctly, I think it could be done right for some kids. Some kids are ready for that. Looking at my son, he's not going to be ready for that. Not just yet. You know, he's going to need some time to get some confidence in himself and understand a little bit about it. But I think the rise of flag football and all that, man, I love it. I think it's great for safety. It's great for keeping kids interested, and you know, when they're confident, they're going to enjoy doing what they're doing.
Right. And it's not just the biggest kid out there is the best kid out there.
Correct.
Or that's something we see in the lower levels and the younger levels of football. If you got any size at all, well,
right,
you're going to win.
Right. Well, and that's also knowing your kid as well. You know, you got to know what he's capable of doing. You know, and that's one thing that I also said I wasn't going to do. I'm not going to live out my dreams through my son. Right. You know, I was fortunate to play high school football and college football. That don't mean he's got to. He says he wants to. Well, I tell him this is what it takes. Now, if you don't do it, we'll have that conversation. But you know, but I'm not going to live my dream out through him and force him into doing something he won't. Like, I never made him play football. He just naturally was around it because I was a coach, and he was the ball boy at 6 years old, and he was the kid that they would wrestle with him in the locker room. And one day his friends recruited him playing football. He was 10 years old when he played. So he didn't play till he was 10 because he got recruited by one of his friends, and I didn't push him. Yeah. But he came to me and said he wanted to play. So I said, well, let's sign you up.
They find their way, right? They find their spot.
If it's for you.
If it's for you, you'll know it quick.
Yep.
And now we get into a lot of this now in these days where all these kids, even as early as 12 years old, are being pushed to specialize in a sport. We talk about it all the time with volleyball, baseball, basketball. There's they feel like there's this urge, and people are pushing them to specialize. And you get overuse injuries. You get they drop out of football because I'm going to focus on this, right? Or my coach told me that I need to play just focus on baseball. And I think this is a bad thing that's happening to some of these kids, is this specialization at an early age.
Yeah, I don't believe in that. I don't at all. I think you let athletes be athletes. They're gonna when you get to about the 11th, 12th grade, you know, you'll know by then what you love to do, and then you can spend a little bit more time there. But still, I think, you know, you keep your ceiling high when you do a whole bunch of things, because when you specialize in one thing, then you get to that ceiling fast, and everybody else is climbing, and you're sputtering because you topped out.
Right.
And then once that other kid specializes, when he's 18, 19 years old, now he leaps.
Because he's physically stronger than you by now.
Yeah, and he hadn't topped out.
Yeah.
And these college guys, they're clever. You know, they know when you specialize, what you see is what you get. Mm-hmm. I mean, you specialize.
You know, more development past 17.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you know, he's a young buck. You know, yeah, he is, but this is what we see. But when you do a lot of other sports and you're still just as good as that kid that's specializing, now your ceiling is up there, and they know it. And I you know, I don't believe it. And I push football players to play basketball, baseball, track, soccer. I'm all for it. And like I said, look at my own son. He was a 3-sport athlete last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I push it.
Well, your starting quarterback was a 3-sport athlete for 2 years in a row.
That's right.
And like E.J. Owsley happened to be probably one of the most prolific passers in Prattville football history, and also one of the best baseball and basketball players we've seen. An unsung hero type guy, but guy did all 3 sports.
Yeah, I've tried. You know, I've talked to different people, and we've tried to think of it. I can't think of anybody in my lifetime that has been more prolific in all 3 sports, and you know, as E.J. Owsley has been, as a senior year. I mean, yeah, you may have had some better quarterback play, you may have had some better basketball play, but all 3 in 1 year, I can't think of him. I mean, he was the leading scorer for the basketball team, the second or the all-time leading passer, single season passing season, and the starting shortstop, all in his senior year.
And a prototypical Prattville kid because he wasn't the best athlete.
Yeah,
he just worked.
He was a competitor
He
and a
outworked
worker.
everybody.
Yes, sir. He did that. He did that. He worked his tail off, and he was a heck of a competitor.
That's no doubt about it. And now he's stepped out and heading to college this fall, and you've got a hole in the backfield to fill, and you got a battle going right there between two hard workers.
Yeah, and every day, you see something different out of every one of them every day, and we can add to 3 because we have Gavin Rigdon, who
That's right.
When you mention worker, he's a worker too. So all 3 of them, they're workers, and so you don't ever have to worry about where any one of them where they are because they're working somewhere, either baseball, basketball, football, whatever. They're working something, and so. But yeah, I mean, I'll take that mold of quarterback any day if they don't mind working.
Any day of the week. Well, Coach, I tell you, this has been a fun conversation.
I got one other thing I want to talk to Coach about, and this is what I want everybody to know about Coach Wallace, because he is a master of a lost art. that
I know where this is going.
It is a lost art. I mean, really, it truly is. You just don't see many people do it anymore. And this goes back to when you were talking about what he does to decompress and everything. He probably has one of the most unique decompression hobbies. It's more of a passion than a hobby, because to see him light up when he talks about it. Folks, we're talking a champion rabbit dog breeder and hunter here. I mean, this is. I mean, you go up to the high school. I mean, I know he told me recently he had to get rid of one of his dogs because of he just didn't have time to work with him here lately. But there would be plenty of times where I just look at him and there was a dog box in the back of his pickup truck at the high school. So I'm like, yeah, he's working them. He's finding time to work them. So. Yeah, tell us about your passion for rabbit dogs.
Well, I just think his nature in general. I just like being out. I like hunting. I started. I didn't start till my 20s. So I was about maybe 19, 20. My uncles, I would go with them, and that's just something that I just love, being out there and being in nature and hunting and listening to the dogs and all that. So during the pandemic, when everything was shut down at first, I was talking to my son. I was like, hey, let's just get us some beagles and train them. And, so we went through that whole process, and it was just rewarding. It's just like anything else. When you're coaching a kid and he finally gets it right, that's the best day. It's so the same with the dogs, when he finally get it right and you put those hours in. But, I mean, that's something that I do for fun, and it's relaxing and all that.
Well, one of the funniest stories that I've heard from him is the story of one of the rabbit dogs gets stuck in a rabbit hole, and his dad trying to get him out.
Well, yeah, actually, the gentleman, he's probably watching it, and he's probably saying, I know you didn't pick on me, but yeah, I did pick on you about it. Yeah, you see a man down there, a man love his dog when he's on all fours digging him out of a hole, and he's got his ear to the ground.
That's love.
That's love. That's love. and this guy gives me a hard time every chance he gets, so I'm returning the favor. So.
Wow. Yeah. You gotta give it. You gotta give it when you can.
Oh yeah.
Like you said, you're limited, so you gotta
right.
take every chance you get.
That's right. But it's definitely a time to relax when I'm out there doing that. It's good relaxation. It's good exercise too. So
Absolutely. Coach, your time is about to become more compressed now. We're about 25 days now, I think, from school starting back, and I know that a lot happens between now and then. And school starts back on the 10th, first game on the 19th. Lots going to happen in the next month. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
You always ready?
I'm ready. I had a chance to kind of relax a little bit over the 4th of July break, and kind of reset myself and get my mind focused. That's something I learned to do over the years. You better take advantage of that week, because if you're doing it right, you're going to be playing for a long time, that football season. So I had a chance just to relax, and for me, relaxing it could be watching some film, alone or something, but or just going back and evaluating some stuff that you do. So, but definitely ready. I'm ready to see this group compete. I'm ready to see these coaches coach. I'm just ready for football season.
Absolutely.
That's such a coach answer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna relax by watching some game film.
Yeah. But But hey,
it's a habit.
That's what you do. If that's your passion, that's what relaxes.
But a good Saturday evening during football season when you're spending family time. For me, my wife watches film with me, and that's I'm telling you. So we'll watch college football, and then we'll have.
I think she's a keeper coach.
Yeah, she is. I'm telling you, and we watch film, and now she knows. She's finally learned what questions to ask. What are y'all calling this? Or he must be the guy that you got to stop this week. Or so she knows, and so that's a Saturday evening.
That's some Friday Night Lights reality TV kind of stuff right there. To have a bride that'll sit with you and do that. That's awesome. Yeah. That's really awesome. Like I said, you got to. It takes a strong woman to be the matriarch of a football family.
Right.
So hats off to her, and hey, hats off to you for catching her.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. This has been great, but there's a topic I don't want to hit on it. I just want to touch on it right now because we got to go into a deep dive with this one, and it could because. I actually got a text message from the man when he was listening to our previous podcast about the Miami trip, the famous Miami trip, and we want to get the coaches on. I want to try to get a couple of coaches on here to give the coaches' perspective of that trip. So we definitely want. We're not. I'm not going to let you say anything about it now because we want this to be a full thing on its own. Because as crazy as our story is our story probably ain't even a third of crazy what the coaches had to deal with.
Well, I'll say this: you see Miami on TV and all that stuff, and I'm we enjoyed it, but I probably won't be going back on my own.
You're not going to reschedule that?
No, sir.
So we're not going to go play Miami Central?
They can come to us.
They come to us.
Yeah, they owe us one.
Hey, you talking about a reverse culture shock?
Yeah.
But
it's been a long time since we had a marquee game outside of the state. We've had some come to us, and us go to Gulfport, Mississippi, to Cincinnati, to Miami. We've had Don Bosco Prep come here, Brentwood, Tennessee come here. Is there any plans for that in the future?
I actually was contacted this year. A friend of mine, is the head coach down near Miami in Broward County down there, and he was wanting a game, and we thought about it. We just couldn't get the schedules to match up. They're on an alternate schedule than we're on, but of course they would be coming to where we were not going there.
It's an expensive proposition to move that many kids that far.
Yeah, and that was part of the thing too, because they were going to need some compensation to help with that as well, and now is not the time. And not for us.
Yeah, check us in a couple of years, man.
Yeah. Now's not the time. But yeah, I can see it coming in the next couple of years, especially when the change of schedule. We may play an out-of-state team.
Hey, well, and with the changes we have at the stadium, that's going to be a good draw for a big game.
Oh yeah,
it would be. It really would be. Well, Coach, I know you said you've been checking out the podcast a little bit, so how the segments, how we segment this up, and how we get toward the end of the show. We like to do a deep dive with Chip Powell and Lewis Mills into what's become one of the the most popular segment on this show, Poetic Justice.
It really has. I mean, it's the ones where I get definitely the most comments about.
Well, yeah. These men are. I won't say becoming famous, but maybe notorious is more the word. And this week's no exception. This week's no exception at all. I've had a little primer for this, but I haven't heard it all the way yet. So why don't we go into it right now? Poetic Justice with Chip Powell and Lewis Mills.
Welcome to another episode of Poetic Justice. Lewis, good to have you here with us again, as always. Listen, exciting news. I know you're just about to jump out of the building here wanting to announce this. Huge announcement came out July the 12th. Library of Congress. You know, you and I have had several calls with Library of Congress with our poetic our relationship through them, and we hear from them often. But they announced the 24th Poet Laureate. And I know you know who it is, but I think we were both shocked at first. I mean, when we called each other, you heard it. I think you heard it first, and you called me, and we were both shocked. But then we were almost just ravished and charmed with the euphoric joy in the announcement of who it was. And with that, Lewis, go ahead and tell us who it is.
Well, none other than Ada Lamont.
Oh, yeah.
She's the first Chicano to be awarded the honor. Ironically, she will succeed another history maker.
And that was another person of Native American, maybe?
Joy Harjo, the first
Yeah.
poet laureate of Native American descent.
Wow. I mean, that right there is enough that we can end the show on right there, but we're not. We're going to talk about Ada, her couple of her poems. But Lewis, the thing about her, she just connects. You know what I'm talking about? She connects with you. She's accessible, engaging poems that seem to ground us where we are and who we share our world with. I mean, that's what she does when you read. But if you can, how about reciting just a short part of maybe one of her poems?
Well, it's from the first fish. Is this where I am supposed to apologize? Not only to the fish, but to the whole lake, and not only for me, but for generations to plunder and vanish?
Yeah. Listen, it'd take too much time to do the whole thing, but you know what that's telling me, just we have a little bit more knowledge, don't have really the time to tell you our relationship with Ada and what we know of how she is really, but she feels barbarous and kind of apprehensive in the fact that she's about to kill something, right?
Right.
And that wants to live. This thing wants to live, this fish. And that's how I see it. She's struggling. But Lewis, how do you break it down?
Well, I think she reeled in a carp and knew it had too many bones in it and wanted to throw it back.
There you go. There you go. That's it for this week's episode of Poetic Justice. Thank you.
What do you even say about something like that, Coach? I mean, do you know we had that level of sophistication in this city? I didn't.
I'm not shocked at all. I've been following, little Poetic Justice, and it's pretty deep. It's pretty deep.
I like Lewis being part of it now because he actually translates it into language we can understand.
Yeah.
For simple-minded folks like me. But hats off to those guys. They do a great job. But man, I can't just say it. I mean, we're gonna wrap this up. But I'm just really proud of the job you and your staff are doing at the high school. Even with folks like me and Millzer and Chip Powell and Lewis Mills hanging around, you still managed to be very successful.
Oh man, I'm thankful for everything y'all do for our program, and man, just being, they talk about me and all that. No, you guys are the face of Prattville football. Because you bring it to the people.
Fortunately, we're just the voice because we don't have a face for TV. We've been told we have a face for radio only. Yeah.
Hey, well, it works. It works. But I do appreciate everything that y'all do for the program, and it's just, especially now, it's just an exciting time to be a Prattville Lion.
It is. We got a lot of good things coming our way in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I imagine we'll be sitting around this table in 5 years talking about when the new high school is going to be finished.
Oh,
you know.
Oh,
well, I had a conversation with Coach Wallace the other day at lunch, and I was telling him how the Auburn game this year, if I can make it, will be my 200th consecutive Prattville football game. And I told him I was planning on mic dropping after that game and walking away, and he told me I had 10 more years, so I'm in trouble.
Yeah, we don't let you leave that easy. You got to hang in there now. You can't. Hey, we'll get to 200 and we'll celebrate that, and then let's get to 300.
We'll celebrate it if it's a win.
Yeah, we'll celebrate if it's a win.
We ain't celebrating 200 if it's a loss, but I don't expect that to happen.
We got to get it done.
I tell you, before we break up, let's talk about the season coming up. You got a schedule that's a lot of home games, front loaded. We got a lot of a good opportunity to be. I don't know. A lot of people are thinking it could be 8-0 heading to the last two games.
Well, that'll be the plan.
New region. Look, this year got a few new teams introduced. Some familiar faces. Reintroducing Opelika to the region. That's always fun. Going over there to play.
Yeah. Well, actually, they're here.
Right, but going over there is always a good time for us.
Yeah, but yeah, it's memorable times for that. Hopefully, we'll be able to catch the bus into the stadium this time instead of having to walk. That's what I remember from 2007.
Well, we like to close the show with a motivational minute by Coach Donny Burnett. We do it every week. A guy that you have to keep close tabs on in the junior high to make sure he's actually doing his job. So see, he's got no comment about that. It's like, yeah, you're right.
No, Donny does a great job. He does a great job, and he's probably celebrating the 7-on-7 win. By the way, so congratulations to the 7th and 8th grade for that.
They really did. They really put a number on him this week. That was
right.
What he said: 16 possessions, 16 scores. Can't do much better than that.
He can't.
So let's turn it over to Coach Donny with the motivational minute.
This is Coach Donny Burnett, and here's today's motivational minute. Winners are not people who never fail, but people who never quit. Keep fighting. This is Coach Donny Burnett for today's motivational minute.
There it is, short and simple.
Short and simple. That describes Donny to a T.
He listens to this.
I know
Millzer.
he listens. I'm gonna pay for that one.
You'll pay for that
I'll
one.
pay for that one.
You'll pay
Hey,
for that one.
before we go real quick, one big exciting announcement that happened. Well, we're taping today on Friday. That happened yesterday. Is a former coach, a former Prattville player. He's as far as I know, he's lifelong Prattville, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I don't know if he moved in or not in his early years, but we've got a new assistant principal at Prattville High School that has come through the football program. And that'll be Coach Mitchell Thornton is now the new assistant principal in charge of the 9th grade at Prattville High School.
How about that? Good for Mitchell.
Yeah. That's one of Coach's assistants there.
Yeah, well deserved, man. He definitely deserves that opportunity. And he's a Prattville guy through and through. And it's always good to see Prattville guys, get an opportunity to do that. We've had a couple, that I could say follow that same format, and they turned out well. So we're expecting the same from him.
Absolutely. So, Coach, you got a lot of tests coming your way here, a lot of trials coming up. I'll leave you with this. James 1, 2, and 3 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." And I know you're a believer, and I know you take that to heart, and we all do. So good luck to you this year. And thanks for spending some time with us, man. You're awesome.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
All right, folks, we're going to leave it with you there. This has been the Preferred Experience podcast number 8. Good night. God bless, and go Lions.
All right, that's going to do it for this week. Man, Will, love you coming in, pinch hitting, and dude, you hit a grand slam tonight.
Well, expect nothing less from me, Daryl. I'm the best.
All right.